Unit 3, place of articulation. This is the third process for creating different meanings, phonemes, and it refers to a specific place in the mouth where a sound is created. So for example, let's see what this nice young lady can tell us. She has graciously allowed us to see the inside of her mouth. All right, let's start with her lips, the two lips, and notice that the bi, as in bicycle, that bi means two, and we then say bilabial, so two lips. And as you may remember, we can put the two lips together and form a P or a B. All right. The next is the teeth, right behind the lips. And you may remember that we have a sound, a fricative, that can be achieved by putting the tip of the tongue right between the teeth and creating some friction. And these are the famous th and the in English. Very difficult sounds sometimes for students to master. And we can also, in that same place, put a lip to the teeth and produce a labiodental. So it's a very, active part of the mouth. And that's the f and the v. So remember, two lips together, lip to tooth, and then two teeth with the tongue between them. All right. Now the alveolar ridge is that bump right there. You see, this tells us, and it's a bony bump or hump right there behind the teeth. And you can easily find it by drawing your tongue start right at the back of the teeth and draw it up over into the mouth, back of the mouth, and you'll find, okay, there's that hard bump. And that alveolar ridge is the most common place for sounds in English. And there we can do stops, fricatives, affricates, nasals, laterals, etc. Now the next place is right after the alveolum, and that's this area right here where there's a little bit of the alveolar ridge and a little bit of the velum, and it's called alveopalatal. So it's a little of both, and this is where we can do things like the alveopalatals in English, the sh and the zh. All right, now let's go on. The palate is this curved part of the mouth right here, and it's called the hard palate here. Bony, you can feel it again with the tip of your tongue. If you run that tongue tip across your mouth, you can feel, and it's more curved than this picture shows. She has a very flat palate. Most of us have a bigger curve. Okay, now then here is what's called the uvula, and we'll get to that in a minute. And here's the throat or pharynx. Here's the epiglottis, and here's the esophagus, and here's the larynx. Now let me explain these. They're kind of important. Okay, the pharynx is the throat, the back of the throat, after the tongue. This epiglottis has an interesting function. It comes down and closes off the air passage to the lungs. Why does it do that? Because when the food's coming down, you don't want it in your air passage, you want it going down to your stomach. So the name for the tube to the stomach is the esophagus. Do you remember when you were a young child, your mother saying, don't talk with your mouth full? What she was trying to do was to keep you from getting food going down to the lungs instead of to the mouth. I'm sure we can all remember that. It's something all of our mothers say. So epiglottis, this comes down to close off the trachea. Here's where we have that larynx with those pictures that we saw in the last unit of the vocal folds and their sort of thing. All right, let's go to the next chart, and here we can see that was the manners, this was the voicing. Now we get to see place of articulation. Bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, palatal, velar, and glottal. Let's do these with a little bit more description. The lips, as I said, coming together to form a P, a stop. The teeth involved in several sounds, the labiodentals, f and v, and the intradentals, th and the. The alveolar ridge, remember, the most popular place. Lots of sounds occur there. We go on to the palate. Remember that bony part of the top of the mouth, if you will. The velum is very important, where the stops K and G are produced, as well as the velar nasal eng. And remember, the palate in English is only used for basically three sounds: alveolar sounds, sh and j, and the affricates, ch and j, and then the palatal approximant, y. So a limited number of sounds. Glottal. As we said, the glottis is where the vocal folds are. It's the opening between those vocal folds. And we produce the phoneme H there, which is a fricative. So, ha, ha, ah, ha, aha. Now, we also produce another sound there, which is an interesting sound. It's a glottal stop or glottal stop. And what we do is we stop the air at the glottis. So, and that sound actually occurs in English, but it's not a phoneme, it's an allophone. It's a subunit of another phoneme. And it basically, it's the T in English has as one of its allophones the glottal stop, as in butler. All right. This ends Module 3. Here are the references for the charts we just saw.